It's a lovely day, it's just you and me, and I thought maybe you'd like to tag along for a bit to see what I'm up to on these chest of drawers. Might be a bit rubbish, might be all over the place, might be wobbly cameras. I can only do one thing at a time, so I might not be able to talk very well while I'm doing what I'm doing. So hopefully you can live with all of that, and yeah, let's make a start. I don't know how long this is going to be for, maybe 20 minutes, maybe an hour and a half, who knows. Let's just see how it goes. I'm going to try to take some questions if I can technically work out how to do that, but we'll see. That might be at the end, but again, I'll have a look at the screen from time to time. All right, let's get on with it. So I'm making 2 chest of drawers and 2 bedside cabinets at the moment. I'm going to show you that drawing. If you can see that. So one is 1 meter long, one is 1100 long. And as you might be able to see here, I've got like a front frame. So I've got corner posts, and inside that I've got a framework. So I've got uprights and I've got rails. So that's what I'm building at the moment, this kind of structure. So these are my uprights. In a moment or so I'm going to stop talking and just kind of get these in their right order. But basically it's a case of these rails will be going into these housings. So yeah, let's kind of do that, shall we? Right, I'm going to just organise myself here a little bit because I didn't want to be too neat and tidy, because that's not how I work. I'm a bit all over the place, and then I get tidy and I'm a bit all over the place. So let's get some stuff in order here. What am I doing first? Right, I'll show you these. For a good portion of this, you may not see too much of me. I kind of want to make sure that you can see what I'm actually working on. So yeah, it's a bit difficult because I'm using the best quality part of the phone for the camera, as opposed to seeing what you're seeing. But it's a bit hit and miss as to how that's going to turn out. All right. So let's have a look. All right, so this is one of the chest of drawers. Front left, front right, number 1. Front left, front right, number 2. I have already marked where these holes are. I'll go into a bit more detail on that. As I say, the information in this is going to be all over the place, so I'm probably going to forget to say certain things. So hopefully you'll be able to piece it all together. I did this earlier, and to get myself into a bit of a pattern, so I kind of know what I'm doing. I've also marked this one up. So that's what I'll start doing in a moment. I could guess where these holes are going to go, but don't really want to do that. It doesn't have to be ultra precise. I'm just using a couple of spacers to get me roughly in the center of the width of the housing. The housings are 5mm deep. The thickness of the rails or the uprights are 23. So that's all of those marked. Now I've got a little sanding post here, sanding block, and it just fits in nicely in here. So what I've done is I've put myself a mark, if you can see that. And I'm basically coming about 18mm from the outside edge. So all I'm doing is I'm lining up my pencil mark to the outside edge, and then I'm using that, the end, to mark the cross point of the center of the hole. There's loads of ways you can do these things. This is not the best way or the right way. It's just, you know, just happened to work. And then for these bottom ones, the top ones, I'm just coming about 11mm from the end. Square it across. All the rails are 23 as well. So the housing is 23 wide. And then set up a combination. No, that's for the other ones. So I've got a couple of bedsides, so that's what that's set up for. So I'm going to continue to mark this in the same way. I've also got some questions for you if I can try and think of them during this live stream. Because I'm really quite interested to know what do you find interesting about the videos I do, or do you not find interesting about what I do? Because it would be nice to make content that people get something out of. You know, do you like the idea of some live streams? Does that would that be good? Should I set them to a certain time of the week? I don't know how that would work, because I thought this might be a good little thing to do, and obviously I can't just wait for a certain time in a week to do that. So you know, they're just random thoughts I've had. Talking about random thoughts, you might have seen some domino holes here, okay? What's that about? So now I've got all of these marked, let's just show you kind of how this is going together. So I'll put our frame one over here for a minute. And as I said earlier, I'm just going to put this lot together in their order. So this is all the long stuff. There might be a bit of background noise, and who knows, somebody might even come in. So what the heck I'm going to do when that happens, I have no idea. Okay, that's a front, that's a back. Let's put the back over here. Or two. There we go. Right, now we're getting somewhere. So, can you see here? That's my top rail. They're all the middle rails, and that's the bottom rail. Okay. The three middle rails are just going into the housing, which is 23 wide. I could have done that on the top and the bottom rails, but that would have meant that wouldn't then be a groove like these ones are. It would have been a rebate, and that would be okay. But I thought, well, actually, why don't I do it like you'd have on a door jamb? So I've stopped it so that it's barefaced still on one side. Barefaced means, I'm getting a bit technical already. Barefaced means there's no shoulder on one face. Okay, barefaced. And then as you can see, that's then rebated to then go into this groove here, like that ish. I'll get in there in a minute or two. So that's what we've got. This is all number 2, and this is frame 2, because I must make sure I glue up the right rails to the correct uprights. I was talking earlier about these domino holes, and why have I got those? Well, there are also a back frame, just the 4 pieces, not any of the middle rails. And this may not be in quite the right order, but basically to get the depth of the cabinet, it's going to be something like that. I'm going to cut a piece of ply to go in there to turn that into a solid side. And then I've cut these domino holes now, because once these rails are in, I wouldn't then be able to get the domino in there, because it's got to sit on this face and this would be stopping it. Same here, it just wouldn't work out. So I've done that, pre-drilled those, whatever the right way of saying that is, so that I don't have a stumbling block later on. Okay, so let's put that out of the way. I'm just going to check in to see how this is all looking here. All looking good. So what we'll do next is drill these holes. Make sure it's still out on. Right, so what I'm doing is I'm just pre-drilling these through, because I've got the mark on the inside. It's going to be countersunk on the outside. So I'm just drilling like a pilot hole through from the outside, from the inside out. probably some people are going to say, oh, you should have a packer underneath there because you're going to get breakout. Well, I'm just using a small bit. Oh, I've not marked that one. I'm just using a small drill bit. The breakout's pretty small, but also you're never going to see this face because there's going to be a leg or a post which completely covers that face up. Some people might also say, why aren't I drilling these holes with a pillar drill? Yeah, could do. Is it better? Yes. Does it matter? Not really. There's so many things where you just have to get on with it. You just have to kind of work out how important is the particular bit you're doing right now. You know, how much effort and attention does it need? So it's early March here and I'm in Norfolk, UK. And it's just a few signs of spring. It's a lovely day out there and it's such a lift. I've been longing for the spring to start to arrive because I just hate the winter. It's unbelievable how by having the doors, the big door closed in the winter, it really does kind of, you know, you working on your own. It does have an effect on you, really, to be honest. You know, not seeing a lot of sunlight or anything, or even seeing the people, you know, go past. I'm in a business park here, so there's quite a lot of people around. So it's lovely to start having the door open. So I'm using a 4.5mm bit here. It can counterbore, but it's just set to countersink. This is really a handy little cutter. This is from UK company called Wielden Tools, and I buy all my cutters from them, and they're really, really good. Anything that I say that I like, certainly up until present, I'm not affiliated with anybody, I'm not sponsored by anybody. So this is all from stuff that I've bought. Let's move the camera a bit. That's good. Let's get that dust off there. Excuse me. I'll just make sure got any burrs in there to cause a problem. So that's that one done. Do this one there, and then that'll be all of them finished. Of the chest of drawers, anyway. So this wood is native pippy and character oak. It's really lovely. Plenty going on in it. Some really nice colour, actually. Does, you know, English oak does vary quite a lot. It's quite light, I would say, for English oak in terms of weight, but it's got a lovely, lovely colour. This is all going to be oiled using Odie's oil. That's just going to intensify the grain and the colour as well. So the cabinets themselves are all, well, mainly solid timber. As I say, there's going to be a ply panel in here, and there's going to be a birch ply back. And then the drawer boxes themselves are going to be in birch ply. There we go. Oh, it's just chiseling. Okay. Okey-dokies. Maybe we should just have a chat about joints. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Joints. Why have I... so hard to know if you can see me or not. Let's bring it back there and get it up to there. Right, take two. Housing. Why am I housing these? What are the options for jointing this chest of drawers? I'm going to probably do another video where I can go into a bit more detail and do some sketches about the kinds of joints I could use on this, but I'm just going to try to rattle through them because I don't want to get too nerdy and then not make sense to anybody. Going from the top down, I'd say in terms of quality, if this was, you know, high-end exhibition work or a really, really high quality bespoke piece, it's nice work, but that's a huge whole debate on its own. So let's just park that there and say this: it's nice, it's good quality work, but it's not the very highest, whatever the very highest is, because that's, you know, perfectionism can never be reached. Anyway, waffling. the joint I probably would most prefer to use from a quality point of view would be a twin tenon. So what that would kind of look like is there'd be one a little tenon going here and then one here, and they would be pretty much the full thickness. I'd put a haunch on the top and the bottom of only say 1.5 to 2 mil, so that you can't see any evidence of the mortise. But it also maximizes the width, because if you were having a tenon in here, you wouldn't want the tenon going that way, because you're not getting a side grain to side grain glue joint, you're getting side grain to end grain. But yeah, that's probably what I would do. And if the rail was this wide or possibly a little wider, I'd probably put twin ones here and then one toward the back if this is the front. Let's just say this is the front for a moment. That is the gold standard as far as I'm concerned. That's really good. The other way you could do it would be to do a housing dovetail joint. You could do a tapered dovetail housing joint. Loads of work. I don't think it's any better. I don't think it's actually in some ways as strong as the tenons. I really think you can get a lovely friction from that. But that's a lot of work, because you've got to either mortise these out with a mortiser, but probably as the thickness is not that deep, you'd have to drill out and then chisel those out by hand. There's quite a bit of hand work with cutting the tenons. You can do them on the saw to a degree. Still a lot of hand work there. So yeah, then of course you could use biscuits, and we're then going down to the sort of the bottom end. I don't use biscuits, hardly ever use them. The thing I have used a lot for this kind of work, especially if it's for kitchens and fitted furniture, that kind of stuff, would be the domino. The domino is what we've cut there, and the dominoes, let me go and find some. So domino machines have really, allowed cabinet makers to produce, good strong joints, much stronger than biscuits can, much more accurate too. But they're much quicker than doing them on the machine, where you've got to cut a tenon out of your solid piece and then a mortise from your other piece. You're essentially cutting the mortise hole, like a slotted mortise hole, out of both, and then this is then going in that hole like this. You see, that's quite a snug fit. So if I was using the domino, it'd be hard to do them the correct way, like I was saying earlier. The normal way would be you'd have them this way, which is contradicting what I was saying about side grain to end grain, but it is fine. With a domino, you wouldn't start messing around having them the other way, I don't think, because the whole idea of them is that they do a good job, but they do it quickly as well. So that is a good method. Why did I not want to use that and instead use a housing joint? Well, actually, these pieces are quite simple in their style. And a simple housing joint like this, it used to be used an awful lot in simpler style furniture. And I'm very much of the opinion that I want to, in a way, do things in a slightly more basic way. And in not relying so much on the modern ways. I mean, there's lamello machines, and that's on another kind of path, which I won't go into. I don't have one of those. I'm not particularly interested in them. They suit a lot of modern furniture makers who make a lot of MDF stuff. They're really, really good things, they don't quite suit what I do. And I'm trying to put a little bit more craft back into furniture making. However, this is a simple joint. And the other thing that I should say here is that when I say craft, you know, I haven't cut these joints by hand. They've been done on the table saw, on my sliding table saw. I just brought the saw up, made a series of cuts over it, set the stop up so I could come up to the stop. So you might feel that, well, that's not actually any better than using a modern way, but I don't know, that's up for debate. I still think that this is nicer than a dominoed joint would be. I would really like your opinion on that, actually. So let me know in the comments, or if you want to, send me a question about that. Happy to answer it or give you my opinion on it. There's no right and wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I just kind of feel in my gut that let's return to slightly older ways where possible. All right, that's the thing. Making bespoke work, it's always variable. Depends on the budget. So many different factors on the scale of the work as well. But I like the idea of going back to a slightly more traditional way of jointing them, but in a way that doesn't take up loads of time, which means that you just lose money on the job. And it's very strong. So if we take one of these, this will fit into here. These will all be glued up, and I'm then using a couple of 4.5mm diameter screws, and that will really pull that up strong. So it's a mechanical joint in that it can't move up and down because of the shoulder, but then it also can't separate because of the screw. Now for the middle ones, when I cut the housings, I hopefully have cut them tight, because I want these to be really snug, and it might mean that I need to just bring these in, just dial them in a touch to get them to fit. So that's what I'm going to start to have a look at now. Ideally, I'd like to not have any slop on those, because it will look nicer and just be all round better. But we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to stop talking and start to concentrate on what I need to do now. Two. That's just laden in. That's good. I think what I'm going to do, coffee. Let's just check in. Bring this over here a little bit. I'm just going to lead these in so that we've not got a burr on the end there, excuse me. That's nice like that. Hopefully you can see that okay. So we'll do the same here on this side. Have I beveled that? No. Let's do that. That is a very, very small bevel on there. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not really. But that's surprising what a difference that might just make to lead it in. Well, that went in a bit too easy. That's okay. Still snug enough. Next one. Because these will be tighter as well when because I'm going to use Titebond 3, which is PVA. So that will soon start to make the joint feel tighter. Yep, that's good. I think I'll put that in the wrong side though. Yeah, I have. All these inside faces have been sanded. I just used belt sander, 220 grit, so they're nice and smooth. That's all they've needed. Nice. If I could get them all like that, that would be really nice. But as I say, it's the difference between this one, which is just that tiny bit loose, and this one, it's minuscule. There's a Japanese way of doing this. I've seen somebody in the UK use it, and it was really interesting. I'd like to do it one day. Where I think what they were doing, I haven't even thought about saying any of this, but it was along the lines of having the housing really tight. And what you do is you take a speciality heavy hammer and you would tap this down to basically crush the fibers just that little bit so that it would go in. And then you would get some steam, boiler kettle, whatever, and I think put some water on the joint. I don't think it was glued at all because the steam would cause a big problem for the PVA if you were using PVA. So it was just a friction joint really. So you would then you would apply steam to the rail, get it in, hammer it in place really quick, and then of course the fibers would then swell to make the joint super tight, and that's it. I thought, what a great method. I'd like to look into that more. Maybe I'll try that one day and we'll do a little demo to see how that works out in reality. But I've definitely seen it from some furniture makers in the UK and I was really impressed by it. I thought, what a wonderful method. Again, simple, but it's not using any glue. It's wonderful. So a very sustainable kind of method, that really. Anyway, let's carry on. So have I done this one? I think I've finished that one, yeah. Done that side, done that side. Okay. So this is the front. Oh, I've got to just bevel that. Nice. That's, you know, that's strong when you get it right. See, they don't need to be in there far at all. I mean, a common approach might be to have it go in housed in a third of the thickness, but I felt 5mm was enough on here. And the deeper it goes, if it is a tight fit, that can want to distort this piece then, because it would make it want to tend to go like that, because it's kind of like wedging. As these get driven in, that would wedge that open. Probably wouldn't be a problem with this piece because it's got the stout legs to support it, but you know, that is something that needs to be considered with this kind of construction. So I think I've done both of those. Yep. You can actually see hopefully you can just see that there. Slightly shiny area and it looks darker. You might not be able to see that. Yeah, that shows you how, you know, you haven't got to be far out with it for it to be sloppy. Right, now we'll check the bottom one. That's good. Yep. Bit loose that one, Mr. Ribbit. But that's okay, I think. Nice. Good. Are you still with me? This one's ready for gluing up. I think I'm going to just prepare the back so you can see what the back will look like. It's much more straightforward. So we'll put those to one side. And we need to find those pieces. Back right 2, back left 2, these. Yeah, I might actually use that now. The purists would probably use a marking gauge for this, maybe. You know, you all this kind of stuff you can mark out in many different ways. You'd maybe use a sharp scalpel to mark some things out. You know, that's all great and lovely, but only really viable on the really highest quality work where you've got to be so precise. I think hopefully this is what I'm doing. This kind of quality work is accurate enough for the job in hand. So exactly the same principle. Just top and bottom. Now a bit of sleeves on those. Okay, great. So that's just going to create an outer frame. I'll just show you the bedside frames. I won't work on this right now because time is marching on, but it's exactly the same principle. So these will come in here. Don't drop it. So that creates creates the drawer aperture. And basically how I'm going to construct these is, again, because it's, you know, I've made these frames for a styling point of view. That was one of the reasons for it. Kind of wanted an inner frame within the legs, not just the rails themselves that go directly into the legs. I kind of wanted a border for the drawer fronts. But also it is a way of I'll then be able to attach the, you know, the legs. The legs will be, will have solid end panels for the chest of drawers, and then there'll be a rail on the bed sides. So I can screw through, drill holes and screw through into the legs, and that will then have everything together. So to be honest, the construction of this is, you know, there are traditional elements to it and also a more modern take on things as well. So some purists may not like that, but it's just trying to find a way to be able to make things for a certain budget with the values that I find are important. So using as much solid timber as possible, using oil finishes, using environmentally sustainable methods as much as we can to create a product which will last, you know, generations. Simplicity in design, all those things kind of like I try to have at the core of what I do. And then if a client has a higher budget, or they want an exhibition piece, then I can then show, you know, what's possible using those main core methods, but just taking the finesse up a gear. So yeah, I would much rather do simpler, more, in my view, honest sort of construction wise, which aren't trying to be, you know, super fancy, that shows how the thing's been made. I kind of like that. You know, you could go back and, I mean, housing joints would be sniffed at. You know, a better cabinet maker could say, well, you're allowing those housing joints to be seen at the front, you should at least stop them. So that what that means is that you would put a haunch. You'd put a haunch on the front of your rail, and then that housing would stop short, so that it would look exactly like that. If you can see that, that's how it would look. So that line runs right the way through. You know, but today, when you've got dominoes and biscuits, lamello joints, all these other kind of things, which means that the fact that you see a line going straight through there, it no longer means that there's something more skillfully done or more handcrafted back there, because of all these other, you know, more modern techniques. So in a way, I would kind of, as I say, let's take it back and go back more simple. I think there's merit in that. Let me know what you think, though, because you know, you might see it differently, and I'd be really interested to know what you think about some of these construction methods that I'm using here. Do you like them, or would you much prefer to see a domino or a sliding, you know, a housed dovetail joint, for instance? Let me know in the comments. Okay, waffling over again. What are we going to do next? I think probably think probably we should glue these up. I do need to take the sharp edges off the back edges, so I should do that next. Let's do that. So back, back. That's our back. There. Okay, so this is our front edge, back edge. So I'm just going to run through a couple of passes just to save me having to do this afterwards. So I've no idea if you can hear me. I'm going to carry on regardless, and maybe I'll have some narrating to do afterwards. I don't know. I'm going to carry on because I need to, and maybe this will be a silent film. Who knows? Probably in there. Now I've just realised with all my talking to camera that I haven't set up any clamps. So it might get a bit frantic. And you might call that a schoolboy error. But hey ho. Okay. So this is going to be going here. That's the front. That's the top. So therefore this is going to come in here. I'm not going to put any glue on the rails because I think it'll just get too messy. It might be quite challenging to get these all in at the same time, but it's the reality of gluing up. Sometimes it can be a bit of a nightmare. And that's without a camera looking at you. We'll find a way. You can hear that the glue is grabbing already. So that's why I'm trying to just check. Flushness, front and back. Before I hammer these down too much. Did you hear that then? That's when that went. Sound changed. And the fibres release. Right, let's quickly check the other end. Okay, let's just bring this down. Hear that? That went. I'm going to put a packer under here because it's grounding out, so it won't go any further. Put on the right bit. Too much. Once it has gone, you then find it, you know, because the fibres have just released that tiny bit, you can hopefully then get it back if it has gone overshot like it did there. Here again, that wants to go. That's just about gone. Right, we'll have a quick diagonal check. 18, 1, 2, 8, 8, 1, 7, 1, 2, 7, 8. That's quite a bit out like this. 2, Right, now we've got 1, 2, 8, 4. 1, 2, 8, 2. Four. 1, 2, 8, 3. 1, 2, 8, 2.5 kind of thing. And what we should find is when I screw these in, that's one of the good things about screwing, is that it tends to pull up nice and squarely. But anyway, I haven't got a lot of time for chatting at the moment. So hopefully that makes sense. I think what we'll do is we'll do it from this angle. Maybe what I'll do, let's bring that around there. I'm going to try a 3mm bit. I don't know if that'll be too big. Where's the bit? That is just a little bit big because it's close to spinning, that was. So what we'll do is we'll get a 2.5. With these screws, I could probably not bother, but I am quite close to the outside edge and I don't want to have a split, so I'm just being precautionary. Ah, sugar. Hopefully these are long enough. So look. Yep. That's nice. Right. I'm going to go longer on the ends. It's because I've got to go through more of this piece in order to get in here another 5mm. So let's go 45, so we'll try these. Yeah. Try from here. Turn this over. They've pulled up really well. You can see the glue is squeezed out there. So what we'll do now, a quick check on the square. I'll just go diagonal quickly and then I can clean the glue off. A little bit out, a mil or so. Yeah, it's about a mil out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the glue off and I might then put that in a clamp just to twist it around a little bit. Okay, so I've just got warm water, warm to hot water here. I'm just going to use the same brush that I had, which I've swilled out with water, just to soften in the glue, because that will be getting not set, but it will be thickening up. You know, the moisture will be evaporating, and so that will help with the cloth in a minute. Which is the way I was taught to clean assemblies up after glue up at the furniture makers I used to work for back in the 1990s. And that's a good method. Just have to be careful not to soak the joint, because obviously you don't want to be pouring water in there. You know, it's a fine line, but it does work well. By using that rag, it shows the glue up. It makes it look, you know, whiter, because as it starts to dry, it looks more transparent and you can't see it so well. Wetting it like this brings it up whiter so you can see it more easily. And then it just sometimes needs a few goes over to remove it from the pores of the timber. With this being inside the drawers, you know, we can get away with a little bit still in there, because you won't be looking at that, you won't see it. Hopefully you can see these dominoes here. You see the end panel, the internal end panel will be here. So I couldn't have done that after these have been assembled. These front frames have been assembled like this. Then after the glue is all set, which will be tomorrow to be safe, I'll then just come in with a hand plane, just flush these off front and back. I'll do that to all the frames, and I can get these pieces of ply glued in, and then carry on with the construction of the legs and the end panels. It's looking pretty clean. There's not many traces of glue. We'll just have a look from the top. good. Have a look for twist. I'll look through from this way, so then I can more easily see this edge. What I'm looking for is there a twist or a wind from this edge casting my through to that edge. You could use winding sticks for this. Let's see how easy it is to see here at the moment. It's a case of holding your head as still as possible. That looks good to me. I think that's good to go. Let's check the square. So 1, 2, 8, 3. It's about 1282, so it's fractionally shorter that way. Just going to have a look. On the hole. On the whole, that's looking good. I think. Yeah. You can see that. I mean, there's a small square for bigger, some of them this size, but when you get into spaces like this, a larger square might not get in anyway. You always have to be careful using squares, because if this piece is doing this a little bit, then that'll throw you right out. So it's better generally to take a diagonal measurement. It is fractionally longer that way, so I'm just going to try. Yeah. One, 2, 8, 3. Yeah, I think I pulled it the wrong way in my whilst I was speaking a minute or two ago. That's pretty close now. Two. 8, 3. It's like 1/2 mil out, but just to stop that from drifting back, what we'll do is we'll just take a clamp. We'll go over one of these joins. We'll raise the clamp up. Because we need to be able to get the tape under. Is that enough? Yeah, so it's fractionally longer. Fractionally longer this way. So what we need to do is we need to put the clamp in the same direction as the longest measurement, okay? Just a little bit. Because what that will want to do is it will want to pull this side slightly down, because that's the angle that the clamp is, fractionally that way. So I'll want to sort of do that, which will reduce that length there. Okay, so it's hardly doing anything at the moment. It's 1, 2, 8, 3. And that's now 1, 2, 8, 2.5, I think. One, 2, 8, 2. So we'll give it another little. 1, 2, 8, 2. That went. Yeah, 1, 2, 8, 2.5. 1, 2, 8, 2.5. That's fine. I mean, even with that being a mil or so out, I think that would be okay, because you've got other components coming onto this, which will also help to pull it square anyway. There we go. I think we need to stop there today. That's probably been, I have no idea how long that's been, but that's plenty long enough. So I'll not take any questions today, because I really want to carry on and get the next ones glued up before I go home tonight. So there we go. Hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think this style of watching me what I do. Let me know if there's anything I should be doing differently. Obviously, let me know whether you heard me or not. And if you have been able to see some of this, and especially if you've made it through to the end, then thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. You deserve a medal to get to this stage. But anyway, that shows you a little bit about what furniture making is really like when you bring the stuff together. There's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then you might need to do this in order to overcome something. That's what this craft is, and hopefully that's been a little insight. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.